You can tell we're reaching the end of the journey through the swamp that is the Spectrum games based on TV shows. The last few episodes have been a combination of a few different factors. Games that I've been putting off because I knew they were terrible. Miami Vice and the Young Ones being less than fine examples of those. Then there's been games where I knew of the show but had no idea that a game existed of it. Games such as 3-2-1 and Robin of Sherwood being two of them. This pair of games, though, are entirely unique to this entire list. They are both games I'd never heard of. And more pertinently, they were both TV shows I'd never heard of. Now, I'm sure both Super Champs and Giddy Game Show fans exist out there and may well appear in the comments to berate me for not knowing of their existence. And to them I say this. Look here, you. As you can see from this series, I didn't go out very much as a child. I'm sorry. It must have been one of those days where I was actually outside letting the sun caress my face or letting the grass beneath my feet be crushed by my dumb off-brand children's sneakers. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I said that. I'm sorry I used the word sneakers instead of trainers. But anyway, here we are. We're firmly in unexplored territory now, so I had best don my pith helmet and grasp my machete firmly in my sweaty mitt and make my way through the rough thicket. Giddy Game Show then. I've got a reasonable excuse for this one, to be fair. The show started in 1985 and was designed for preschool children. And well, I wasn't in preschool then, I was in full school, and those lazy pant wetters were watching television shows at like 10:30 in the morning while I was slaving hard at the age of 6, putting sand through spinning wheels and perfecting my drawing of the letter B. Giddy Game Show was made by Yorkshire Television and lasted just the 2 series. The show featured the titular Giddy, who was an alien. Giddy scooted around on a magic pink pencil. Yes, that's what your mum called her magic pink pencil, wasn't it? And it was around the confines of an observatory. Giddy would indulge his nappy-wearing viewers with a series of simple games and puzzles, and would do so accompanied by his pals Gus the scientist and Gorilla the, yes, that. Giddy was voiced by South African voiceover and ITV continuity announcer Redvers Kyle. Gus was given his speech by Richard Vernon, a character actor most famous for playing Slarty Bartfast in both the radio and TV show versions of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Finally, the cast is rounded out by the Gorilla, who was voiced by none other than Carry On style Bernard Bresslaw, which, for some reason, and no offence to Bernard Breslaw's surviving family, is the perfect voice for an anthropomorphic gorilla. Cheers, Bernard. Mirrorsoft released the Giddy Game Show Spectrum game for the full price of £9.95 in 1986, right in the middle of the show's run. It also came out on the BBC Electron, and this won't surprise you whatsoever, but it's an edutainment game. It's actually really similar in its design to Mirrorsoft's fellow edutainment title, Mr. Men's Fun with Words. The sprites are huge, chunky characters for the most part, with zero animation. The game is split into 4 mini-sections, though sadly you won't find them all in this decidedly unthorough review for reasons I'll go into in a minute. The first stage is, plainly speaking, not a game at all, and only vaguely interactive. You select your grouping of letters and an object will appear that starts with that letter, and you press space once. Then the screen will either noisily clear or a character will, rather embarrassingly looking, just shimmy off with 0 frames of animation, and then the next object will appear, and then you press space, and then the same thing happens. It's a slideshow of lettered objects. At least the next game, though, is a little bit more interactive. Giddy takes exception to the English language and blows up our letters with his mind bullets. He then realises quite how rude that is to his hosts and how much they'll struggle without language and communications, and so enlists the player to reassemble the letters for him. You did this by pressing any other button than space to move through the options of broken letterage, and then press the space key for Giddy to shoot it again with his mind bullets and move it back into place. Honestly, Giddy, it's genuinely surprising you made it across the vast cosmos of space, given that you can't do a 4-piece jigsaw puzzle. Like, the nearest star other than the sun is 27,000 years worth of travel away. For goodness sake, man. Now, the reason I can't show you levels 3 and 4 is because I got intensely bored. I think the game actually wants you to reassemble every single letter in this manner. And after 12 of these tasks, I was so bored that this was simply not going to happen on my day off. Here, have a screenshot of level 3. I bet that was fun. It looks fun, doesn't it? 2 magazines reviewed Giddy Game Show. Crash magazine had a look at Giddy in their issue 34, but as they often did with educational titles, didn't provide a score. They said that it was a very enjoyable little game which motivates young children to succeed. Sinclair User reviewed Giddy Game Show and did give it a score in their issue 49. They gave it a 2 out of 5 and said that perhaps computer games should only teach about computers, while teaching to read should be left to books. And this game does nothing to prove the contrary. It's my opinion, though, that games like Playdays and Shoe People have shown that actually you can do this well, and if you take your time and do it well, then you'll have an enjoyable game at the end of it that is also educational. Giddy Game Show, well, didn't do that. Super Champs. Super Champs is mysterious, not in an X-Files or Tales of the Unexpected kind of way, but in there's not a lot of information about either the game or the TV show anywhere. The show itself appears to be a kids' version of Run the Gauntlet, a game I covered in the very first episode. Super Champs had a hell of a run apparently too, running from the mid-80s until 1989 on Channel 4 and then transferring to ITV for another 2 years from 1993 until 1995. It was originally presented by established broadcaster Gary Crowley and assisted by ISS legend football commentator Peter Brackley.
Great!
Super Champs basically threw children in mud, strapped to machinery and expected them to figure it out. Basically, they had to compete with each other until all but one of them died. No, wait, won a race. I've never seen it, remember? It did look quite fun though. I'm sorry I missed it. As for the game, well, there's very little information about that as well. It was programmed by a company called Torch Raven, who did this, a music program for the Spectrum, and, well, very little else from the look of it. Maybe they were arrested for setting fire to garden birds, as their name suggested. As you can see from the title screen, it's clearly tied in with the snack producers Smith's Crisps, and as I can't find any information about its launch price, I'm going to surmise one of two things happened here. Either it was a planned release that never saw the light of day in Boots and W.H. Smith's, or it was a promotional title given away after collecting tokens from your 80s packets of Salt and Shake. Please do enlighten me in the comments about this, please. So what about the game itself? Well, it's a pretty lacklustre enduro racer type affair. There's thankfully no gears to worry about, just the speed up and slow down button to go with the turn left, turn right and brake keys. And it's a visionary example of something that electric car manufacturers need to do with cars to make them more accessible to idiots like me. Super Champs feels a little unfinished. The hit detection is, ironically, hit and miss, as proved by some trees seemingly being the ghosts of felled pines as we plough through them on our child bike like they're the queef of an elephant seal. Control is a little loosey-goosey too, with it sometimes being more beneficial to speed up to steer, which doesn't seem right. Then there's the game's biggest issue. Its stages are way too long. Outrun, Chase HQ Super Hang-On got this completely correct. No course should last more than about 2 minutes. Super Champ's first stage lasts for a whole 5 minutes. And yes, I know that Road Rash had levels that were that long too, but at least Road Rash had an indicator on how much left of the course you had to go. And crucially, was a fun game to play. Now, I had no idea how close I was to the end of the course whatsoever, and so had no real desire to repeat the course after I failed initially. The cover art of the game seems to show a jet ski level, but regrettably I've got my lazy pants on, and I'm buggered if I'm going to find out if it exists. You'll have to wait for someone else to find this obscure crisp-based classic, and they can report back to you. Yes, for a second game in a row, we've got a title that mistakes dull monotony and stretched out longevity as decent content. Bit like my videos, really. It's good that it says crunch when you crash though, because that's the noise of crisps dying. Smart thinking given the license, Torch Raven. Now please stop setting fire to garden birds. No online reviews exist of Smith Super Champs, so I guess I'll just have to trail off without a proper ending. All because they're better than Smith's crisps, aren't they? Like kettle crisps? Pringles, are they really crisps? I don't know. Next up, we've got more modern motorbikes, but more importantly, a TV show and a game that most of us will recognise. We've got bloody Kickstart, haven't we? Like, subscribe, and K thanks, bye.